Welcome Eagles fans to the Inside Swoop, proudly presented by Jinbi, where we are discussing all things West Coast. Scully, welcome. That was as destructive as it gets from a medical perspective.
Yeah, it was, mate. It's.
Did you bring the boots? I expected them to tap you on the shoulder and say, any chance you get out there and have a kick?
Well, look, I was sitting on the sidelines with Fox Footy and watching along, and I've never been so busy. When you're doing those games, you have a little microphone you can speak to the producer, and I felt like I was on the microphone the entire quarter. I got an update on McGovern. I was texting Travis King, who's the media advisor.
So you don't speak to a medical rep from like the West Coast bench? You're not talking to head physio Mark Finnegan?
I think they got better things to do than be texting me, so I try to speak to people that have the ability to do both. So Travis King's my guy.
But he's not on the bench. How's he going to know?
I'm not sure, but he knew the answers for me. So it's me and Travis.
So it's from everything from broken ankles to soft tissues. We have a look at all the injuries here. Probably too many to go through individually, but talk through the implications and the feeling of what it was like on the boundary watching this unfold.
Yeah, look, I mean, that was a really disappointing one for Luke. Obviously quite close with him personally, and to see him, that was right in front of me, that one with Chesser. But to see Luke Shuey go down, McGovern go down, in contests that happen every day as well. They weren't like, I think back to the Brad Shepherd one where he's running flat out and, to see that. But some of these injuries are just, ones that you don't think are going to happen. There was contact injuries like this with Witherden. Jamie Cripps was a contact one as well, which you just can't do anything about, which I don't know if that's more or less disappointing, but as a whole for the group, I'm sure incredibly disappointing after only a couple of rounds and a huge pre-season by the guys.
If you'd have told me hamstring tendon with this incident from Liam Ryan, I would think you're watching the wrong sport.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, I think, which is probably a bad thing to say, I think a hamstring tendon is probably a positive, but that could have been a broken neck, really. Yep. And so, look, to lose those sorts of calibre of players in McGovern, in Ryan, I mean, I rate them as probably two of the top three most important players at West Coast. Luke Shuey, the captain, would be up there as the third. No Nick Nananui. Tim Kelly had a great game.
He's all right, isn't he?
Yeah, I'd say he's in the top five. That's probably my top five most important. So, look, I think that's, disappointing is the wrong word to use. It's going to set the club back in what they wanted to do this year, but it'll open some doors as well.
Here's Simo's classic line post-game at the press conference. Have a listen.
In the end, I turned around to provide a bit of support to the players, but there's no one on the bench. So I was just talking to the other coaches or the bench people. So,
do you like it when the coach is down there, Scully? Did you enjoy that, or you almost be happy to not be talking to the coach?
I've spoken to Simo in the media a few times this week, and I remember him saying that to me as well, that I asked, why did you go down to the bench? And he said, well, I wanted to be able to speak directly to the players, but no one was there. So, look, I do like the coach being down there. I think for senior players, it's good. You can get more direct feedback. For younger players, I remember time with Woosha once. Woosha was down there, and it's a bit scary.
Well, you'd be on the bench for 2 quarters, possibly,
well,
with
yeah,
Woosha.
Yeah, correct. Yes, sometimes it can be intimidating if you don't have that relationship. That's great. But as a senior player, you can give feedback, they can give feedback, and you can do it quicker. So that's why Simo would have been down there.
Well, it's worse news as well. You got Harry Edwards limping off the track on Tuesday's session. Vision here captured by the News. They didn't need that whatsoever.
No. That was a skill drill, no contact, no opponents, and Harry's obviously caught a divot or rolled the ankle by himself, which is again disappointing. I'm going to say that word a few times this show, but look, I've done that before as well with ankles.
You're a habitual ankle roller.
Yeah, and so is Luke Shuey. Just for notable nature, we had a time there where at least one of us had a rolled ankle for the entire season. But the good thing about ankles, if you treat them right and you do the recovery properly, you can play on a rolled ankle.
Oscar Allen on Coast to Coast spoke about the number of soldiers that were going down on the day. Let's take a listen.
I remember asking Kof, our head S&C, at halftime, does this mean I get to play the game out? And he just smiled and goes, yeah, mate, you might have to. When we look at the bench, and I think it was Liam on the bench, and he was hobbled as it was, and Simo had a cracking quote. And the last thing he said to us at 3/4 time is, remember when you played juniors and you'd hate coming off? Well done. None of you are coming off. Go for your lives. And it was quite humorous at the time. And I thought we did stick it out, and we fought our asses off really the whole day. They got on top of us in the last 10-15 minutes, but 40 points isn't a representative of what that game was whatsoever, and I think anyone watching would agree with me.
Well, I thought Oscar Allen might have been a chance to be a part of this group. There was a marking contest in that far pocket. He came down holding his knee, so I'm assuming there's no secrets coming in the back end of this week. I hope Oscar Allen will be playing. Look, it's Yeah, in those situations when you do end up with not enough people on the bench, I've played in a couple of games like that, and we've heard Simo say it a few times in the media, it's about resilience, it's about fighting through a situation which you're not used to. So, look, I think West Coast did that well, but I mean, in the end, I do understand West Coast were playing better. Certainly that third quarter, they were better than Fremantle. But for the first half, I had it for Fremantle. They went in leading. I had the first half to Freo and then most of the fourth quarter to Freo. So in the end, they get the chocolates, so to say, but I think they were the best side. You can't blame injuries. No matter how bad they are, you can't say, well, if we didn't get injured, we would have won. That doesn't work like that in the AFL.
It was certainly a wasteful second quarter, though. They could have been on par with them going into half-time, 0-5, detrimental. But that third quarter, I think with the injuries taking its toll, not many would have seen a result on the cards like that. The spirit, determination, they won almost every metric of that term, which is probably one of the gutsiest quarters I've ever seen in about 15 years working here.
Yeah, so it depends as the playing group. Look, I agree with you. It was a great quarter. You could see the real gritting of the teeth and the willingness to get to the contest and to help their mates. This is the Oscar Allen potential injury. Hopefully he's okay. But when you get in those situations, you got to fight. And the thing will be for the club, what does the playing group take out of it? Right now. So I was thinking about.
Well, Simo said the line. He said something a bit deeper today than winning.
Yeah, so I was thinking about situations. Have I been in something similar? Like 2015 was about as close as I could go. So round one, I was injured with a foot injury. Mitch Brown, Eric McKenzie did his ACL in the last preseason game. Then Mitch Brown played round one, did his ACL, and so for the back line, they were our two starting key backs. So Jeremy McGovern, myself. Were sort of cast into more prominent positions. I remember having a conversation with Adrian Hickmott at the time, who was the backline coach, and I was sort of speaking about how it was a bit confronting to lose your mates like that, and I felt for my mates, but I wanted to continue the season. He spoke about really in life and in footy, you've got to move forward. You can't think about what could have been or I wish this had have happened, because that's not where it's at. So right now for this group. So 2015, we go and have a great year because it didn't matter who was there. We just wanted to get better and win games of footy, and we got on a good roll and make the grand final. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but the attitude needs to be, right, these guys aren't here anymore. How can we go forward? How can we improve?
Eagles fans were up in arms about a couple of these free kicks, Scully. I want to get your take on them. So first there was Michael Walters, first quarter, barrels into Gov, late whistle paid free kick goal. And in the same sort of spot, final quarter, the high tackle, seemingly Luke Ryan on Liam Ryan, and no free kick. What are your thoughts on that? You happy with that interpretation of leading with the head and ducking at the knees?
They're both free kicks for mine, so I think the Walters one is a free kick. I think Gov's got to get lower. I think he'd agree. Look, you can say barrelling in with the head, but in the end, Walters is going for the footy, and you can go as low as you like if you're going for the footy, and if you got it, Gov's got to get lower. That's a free kick. And Luke Ryan has to get his arm away from Liam Ryan's neck. I know they're trying to get that out of the game, leading with your head, but in the end, you can't get people high. I think they're both free kicks.
There was some shining light, believe it or not, on Sunday afternoon. It was this bloke, Ruben Jinbi, the Rising Star nominee. The first one since O. Allen back in 2019, round 21, the longest drought with any AFL team to collect this one. He looked $1 million, leading the AFL in tackles, certainly looks the part, the recruiting team ticking a major box there.
Yeah, I mean, he's been outstanding, hasn't he? He looks composed. Even the way he speaks. I spoke to him on radio last night, and he speaks like a 22, 23-year-old. You sort of got to remember that he is so young, and he just does things that, not yet, but he doesn't have the Chris Judd flash, but he's certainly got some attributes that look like a seasoned AFL footballer. So leading the competition in tackles is outrageous. And he's going to get more opportunities in the midfield now. Personally, he's come from the back line. I like to keep backs in the back line, but I think his talents are well used in the midfield.
Let him go, mate.
Yeah, I know.
Let him go.
It's bad.
What about, this punter, the Dockers fan or whoever he is on the roof, just shredding the guitar moments before bounce down. We've got Aussie flying around, which is brilliant, but that's like well before bounce. Do you want to see us adopt something like this where we've got some kind of activity happening seconds to bounce, or are you happy with the tune, the countdown? What would you want to see?
Look, I think we could make some changes. What about
Here we go.
What about Scully in some sort of Batmobile, Angry Anderson style?
Absolutely horrific.
Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe bring back some club legends, not me, but maybe have them amp the guys up. Are you?
I don't know, we have not many musicians in that group.
Are you putting your hand up to get up on the top deck and maybe abseil down?
No, you'd have something else running down my leg if I was that high up, I reckon. Mate, we had 14 listed players take the field in the Waffle Eagles. And they haven't lost a game as well, 3-0. They're going to lose a fair few of them.
Yeah.
And we certainly don't have a repeat of what round 2 against the Roos was last year. There's a bit of depth going through there. Who would you like to see get an opportunity this Sunday against the D's?
Yeah, so sort of speaking to Jacko Nelson, the newly appointed captain, about this, that I really felt like the Waffle Eagles were in a good spot. They've played really well in the pre-season. They look like they're, with that depth at senior level, that flows down to the Waffle. So they're going to lose 6, 7, 8 players due to these injuries at the top level. Look, I think Greg Clark needs to, we really need to see what he can do in a position that he's probably used to playing from Waffle level. He played some AFL last year, of course, but
so you just put him in CBD if he gets his
yeah.
opportunity?
Well, I think rotating wing CBD, some sort of rotation like that, half forward, and Jai Cully as well. Look, he's had a lot of hype over this pre-season, the way he's brought himself back, taking his fitness to a new level. So those two guys stand out for me. Zave O'Neill played a lot of footy at the first part of this year as well. So they're 3 guys that can step into that midfield void. You probably need to look at those forward positions, given Cripps and Ryan are out.
You put Jermaine Jones up there now.
Look, I would leave him in the back line if you could, but he's obviously a versatile player that potentially you could bring someone like that there, and maybe I'll have to look at it given the stocks.
Regardless of who gets the call up, we do want Eagles fans to be there this Sunday, Optus Stadium. Bounce down's 3:20 p.m. Tickets available right now on Ticketmaster. The boys need all the support they can get, taking on the 2021 Premiers, and you being there can make the difference. Premium hospitality spots too, Scully. Oh, have you ever sat in those seats before?
No, again, I'm just waiting on the invite for the premium hospitality. I mean, I can't.
No, you're not Boundary this week. Can't you get up there?
Well, I can get up there, but I don't have the...
You just get kicked out?
Oh, well, potentially don't have the coin to pay it. It's hard life out here in the real world.
That's a different one, yeah.
I'd like an invite.
Okay, fair enough. It's going to be a rivalry round of sorts for former Demon Jaden Hunt, so he's taken on his old mob. He was a guest on Coast to Coast this week. Let's listen to his feelings on the upcoming clash.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. I still stay in touch with a few of them, and I'll catch up with them when they're over here before the game. And I think it'll be pretty fun. I reckon there'll be a few little jibs in there, but nothing too serious. I can't imagine, but. It'll be really enjoyable.
Is there a teammate that'll just be an irrit on the day and be like, it's going to be my job to just hit him at every chance?
I was trying to think of this. I doubt it with me. I don't know. I just don't have that sort of relationship. I don't know. It's still in good terms with everyone. But, it would be funny if someone does. It'd be intriguing.
Do you reckon every past teammate has that attitude, Scully, that they're looking forward to it? It should be great times.
I don't know. If I heard an ex-teammate say,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I don't really have that relationship, no one's going to get into me, I would be going straight to him.
Yep.
So, look, I hope that does, well, I mean, he's had an outstanding season for West Coast. He's been a real shining light. I saw him during the pre-season. He looked great, and he's looked even better. He's looks like they've moved him up onto a wing. See that run, that carry. Probably didn't, towards the back end of Melbourne, they weren't playing him there. That Star and Langdon, of course, on one of those wings at Melbourne. So, probably was back in the depth chart a bit, but he's had a great year. I'm thinking about guys that I played against, former teammates. Tim Kelly, the year that we were rumoured in getting him from Geelong, we played in a elimination final against Geelong at the MCG.
Yeah, it didn't end well.
We're knocked out. I was knocked out in more ways than one that game, thanks Tom Hawkins. Tim Kelly, I was going pretty hard at Tim to the point I had to apologise after the game.
Really?
Yeah, but that's all right. That's how it happens on the field. Matty Spanger, I played against him. He came in at Hawthorn. I'd lived with him here. He absolutely played probably the best game of his life in Tasmania for Hawthorn. Had about 30 touches at centre half back. And then a couple of Port Adelaide boys, Scotty Lycett, Brad Ebert. Brad Ebert was always good to play against. We had a bit of fun with Ebo.
Yep.
He was obviously a great player here, but let him know quite a bit that he'd left us for dead.
It was going to be a tall order taking on such a formidable opponent at nearly full strength, and now it seems like it's a fair uphill climb. How do you see this matchup Sunday afternoon shaping up?
Look, I mean, I would have Melbourne right there with Collingwood as the best two sides in the competition at the moment. What they were able to do against Sydney, who I have right up there too, it's certainly formidable and a big task for a young group. But look, I think West Coast will be looking at it not as a free hit. You don't get any free hits in the AFL, but there's not a lot of expectation on this group and what they can do. If they can bring a contested spirit like they did in that third quarter, even parts of that fourth quarter against Freo, I don't think they'll, they certainly won't get blown out if they can do that for an entire game. The question is, can they? If they can't, Melbourne will blow them out of the water. But the messaging from Simmer, I think, would be competitive. Don't let anyone walk over you. Show contested spirit, fight for each other, play together, and you'll end up okay.
Salivating thought, perhaps the return of Elliot Yeo this week, which will be welcoming sight for Eagles fans.
Yeah, I wonder, he's missed quite a bit of footy now, so will he come back straight through the AFL? Will he play in the waffle? If they have a game this week, that'd probably be questions that would be talked about in the medical and match committee. Even though he's a star, bringing him back underdone and risking another injury, it's something you wouldn't want to do given the club's injury list at the moment. But he certainly would beef up that middle of the ground. Kelly, Yeo, Jinbi in the midfield. You wouldn't hate that, would you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that sounds pretty good to me.
That's handy. I hope I don't see him at the Waffle, which I will be calling on Saturday afternoon.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, South Fremantle down at Freo Oval, 2:10 on Saturday. You can check it out on the AFL website.
Do you get nervous when you call games?
I will when I haven't seen 8 of these Eagles Waffle players that are coming in from left field this week, which I'll have no idea who they are. Yes. So I'll butcher that call pretty hard, I would have thought.
Well, make sure you tune into that.
Yeah, handy. Make sure to get down to the Eagles Superstore where the New Balance apparel has lobbed. It's looking an absolute treat. Time you run too. Come down when the boys are training. Pick up some gear here at Mineral Resources Park, the home of the Eagles. There's something for everyone, not you, Scully. You can keep to your unironed shirt.
Why not? I would like some New Balance apparel. Can I have some?
Oh, maybe.
I mean, while you're plugging everything, can I plug something of mine? Would that be okay?
Probably not.
Backchat podcast.
Yeah.
Right. This is my podcast.
Who you got?
Alex Witherden. Right. We can do that, right? He plays here at the club.
Is this the podcast where he stopped talking midway through the episode?
Alex had something crawl into his throat midway through the podcast and we were unable to remove it. I'm not sure what happened there, but it's a great chat. We had Duggo last week, Alex Witherden this week, and I believe, rumoured, David Wirrapunter the week after.
Gee, that's not bad.
Backchat.
Okay, you'll get some apparel. You can go to wcesuperstore.com.au if you want to get ones that aren't worn by Will Schofield, even better. Inside Swoop, thanks for your company, courtesy of Jim Beam. Let's hope we pull out a miraculous W against the Demons, and I'll see you next week, William.
Thank you, mate.